And joining me now is Mary Millben. She's a singer and she has performed for 4 consecutive US presidents, George W. Bush, Barack Obama, Donald Trump and Joe Biden recently. And also in August 2020, Milben performed India's national anthem, Jan Gan Man, for the 74th anniversary of India's independence. And in June 2023, Milben performed the national anthem of India at the Ronald Reagan building during US visit of Prime Minister Narendra Modi recently. Thank you so much, Mary. Your tweet has generated a lot of interest. Tell me, what prompted you to tweet that?
It's Myra, correct?
Maria.
Okay, wonderful. It's so nice to meet you, and thank you to the NDTV family. It's wonderful to be on with you. Well, I tell you, it's a very exciting time in India with the G20 summit underway, and world leaders assembled. Certainly, President Biden is there to participate in the G20 summit festivities, and so I always get very kindly invited to speak about and be involved in these types of gatherings. Certainly in my interfaces as an artist, very fluid with American politics and global politics. And what really prompted me to share across Twitter as it relates to the G20 summit was Prime Minister Modi's courage, I would say, certainly to present the proposal the African Union to become a permanent member of the G20 summit. As I said a few days ago in addressing the G20 summit, the Prime Minister is right on this move. It's the right move to make. India's proposal to include the African Union as a permanent member in the G20 is commendable. It's reflecting a commitment to inclusivity. And it's the right thing to do, particularly if I were to be candid. All G20 countries benefit from, their economies thrive from trade and economic engagement with Africa. So it's only fair to have a continent at the table that serves the world. And so I thought it was a very courageous and bold move for the Prime Minister to present that at the G20 summit gathering. And again, too, achieving consensus on this matter may be challenging due to diverse interest within the G20. That's expected, but it's a step toward a more representative and equitable global governance system. I think that's a really important point, that as we work to bring the world to greater measures of equality, it's important that everyone is represented at the table. And that was the sentiment of the Prime Minister's proposal, to make sure that everyone is included at the table, including the African Union. So I appreciate the opportunity to speak about that in a minute.
Yes, you have made an interesting point in your tweet, Mary. You talk about how, voices must be represented in solving the world's most challenging problems. And it's about securing human dignity for all people. How critical is that, that aspect of inclusivity should be about including all, irrespective of religion, races, and nations?
Absolutely. Thank you for the question. Well, it's embedded in the theme of the G20 summit: one Earth, one family, one future. I think it's great that India chose that phrase, that statement, as the focal point for the gathering of leaders for the G20 summit. We're living in a time where the world is divided in many ways. And personally, I believe the vast majority of people really do desire peace, prosperity, a sustainable future for all. And so with good faith efforts, open communication, and a willingness to understand perspectives, I really believe that consensus can emerge, and that consensus brings us back to what's important. And that is human dignity. That is making sure that no matter your religion, no matter your race, no matter, as we say in America, your zip code, no matter where you come from, everyone deserves an opportunity at the table. Everyone deserves an opportunity, as I would say, to the Indian dream. We say in America, the American dream. Everyone deserves an opportunity to the benefits of freedom, free enterprise, that kind of mentality must be at the forefront of the G20 summit, and certainly as we go forward and developing a world that values human dignity. But it does require something of all of these leaders and leaders going forward across the world. It requires patience. It requires compassion. It requires viewing others as fellow global citizens rather than adversaries. And that's a little tough right now, certainly as you get into the complexities of geopolitics that are always going to be at play. Sometimes those differences are magnified greater than our commonalities. And so, again, I think if we focus on those commonalities, our common hopes and aspirations, rather than our differences, that will not only help leaders find solutions to the world's challenging problems, but it will help us center back on the importance of human dignity as we shape.
Those are great thoughts, Mary. I want to understand from you, as someone who has often spoken for African nations, what will be your appeal to all the G20 leaders? What should they be doing when this letter, which has already been written by Prime Minister Modi to them to have this inclusion or expansion of G20 to have African Union, what will be your appeal to the world leaders?
Sure. Well, first, I want to compliment the Prime Minister on his courage to present the letter and to present this at the G20 summit. Secondly, my appeal to the world leaders assembled, it goes back to what I said just a bit earlier. If I can be candid, all of the G20 countries benefit from, and their economies thrive from, trade and economic engagement with Africa. So it's only fair, again, to have a continent at the table